الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء خاتم النبيين أما بعد. So, Nuzhat al-Nadhr, looking at the matan of Nukhbat al-Fikr, we discussed the issue of a hadith that is Sahih and what are the different levels of Sahih. Yani if it is muttafaqun alayh between Bukhari, Muslim and the Musnad and so on all the way down to the minimum of maqbul ahadith being Hasan li ghayrihi. Tayyib. Having discussed Sahih, Sahih li ghayrihi, Hasan, Hasan li ghayrihi, having discussed all that, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani then goes, فَإِن جُمِعَ يعني طيب ما هو الجميع؟ جُمِعَ بين الصحيح والحسن. If they come together, Hasan, Sahih, if these two terms come together. Now, what we know about this term, Hasan Sahih, that it was made popular by Imam Abu Isa al-Tirmidhi. Imam al-Tirmidhi, the famous Al-Hafidh al-Tirmidhi, the author of Jami'ah. He is the one that made this term famous. Some of the ulama said other ai used it before him, but no doubt from the major ulama of hadith in the original books, the ones you find it the most in is Imam al-Tirmidhi. Before his time, in the time of, for example, Imam Ahmad and Yahya ibn Ma'in and Ali al-Madani and those ai and ulama, you didn't even find the term Hasan. And when you did find it, as it developed, it was unique to its own category, Hasan, which didn't meet the strict criteria of being Sahih, but met the 5 conditions. We discussed that. Tayyib. Imam al-Tirmidhi uses the term Hasan Sahih, and after that time it's been used. For example, Shaykh al-Albani and other ai&ma and ulama of hadith in the later times have also used the term. But what does that mean, Hasan Sahih? Interestingly, Imam al-Tirmidhi, he never really explained the term. Some of the ai&ma, like Imam Abu Dawud, he wrote a risala to the people of Mecca explaining his istalahat. And this was very beneficial to know what he means when he says la bas bihi and so on. Imam Muslim, in his muqaddimah, in his introduction to his Sahih, he also explained mustalah and his terminologies. Imam al-Tirmidhi didn't. So the students of Imam al-Tirmidhi who studied directly with him, and this shows you the virtue and the importance of studying directly with the teacher, they understood the term because in conversations with the Shaykh, they asked the term and he would explain it to him and they got it. But they also didn't document it. So later, ai&ma and ulama started to wonder what exactly does that mean, and that's what Ibn Hajar is discussing here. In Jumi'ah, if it comes together. Tayyib, there are many aqwal of ai&ma and ulama on what this means. Ibn Hajar gives his own qawl. I will also explain some of the ai&ma and ulama that have said this. For example, Ibn Salah, the great scholar of Mustalah al-Hadith, he said that if the term Hasan and Sahih come together, then that means there is one sanad that is Hasan and one that is Sahih. Tayyib, and this is what Ibn Hajar also mentioned, that if there are more than one, bi'atibar isnadain, if this is in Nukhba here as well, that if there is more than one sanad, then this is what it means, that one is Hasan, one is Sahih. Now, the problem with this opinion from Ibn Salah is that if this was the meaning, how could we have Hasan, Sahih, Gharib? A Gharib hadith is a hadith with only one chain. Tayyib? And as Ibn Rajab in his Sharh of the Ilal al-Tirmidhi, he writes that Imam al-Tirmidhi, he uses Hasan, Sahih, Gharib at least 7 times in his book, where he mentions that a hadith is gharib, it has only one chain, but Hasan Sahih. So this opinion doesn't hold credit, because once you get to the issue of having a gharib hadith, how can you say that one sanad is Hasan and one is Sahih? Next, as Ibn Hajar here then gives the opinion that if it is 2 chains, then what Ibn Salah said is correct, one is Hasan, one is Sahih. If there is 1 chain, then that means that there was ikhtilaf of ulama. Ibn Hajar, he says that here in Nuzhat al-Nadhr, explaining Nukhba, he said, فَأَنْ يَقُولْ الْحَسَنْ أَوْ صَحِيح وَهَذا كَمَا حَدَفَ الْحَرْفِ الْعَطْفِ. What does he say? He goes, what Imam al-Tirmidhi means is that it's either Hasan or Sahih. So it's really supposed to be Hasan or Sahih, yani Hasan or Sahih. But he made hadf of the aw, yani as many people in trying the words of atf like wa and things, you can make hadf of it from the aspect of yani balagha or the eloquence of what a student should already understand what you mean here. Tayyib, this is an opinion, but there are problems with this opinion as well. What is the problem? And this is Ibn Hajar's opinion here in Nukhba Nuzhat. But يعني I would say that there is an issue with this opinion. As when I studied يعني with my shuyukh, they explained that some of the ahadith that Imam al-Tirmidhi has called Hasan Sahīh are from the top level of ahadith. Yani they are ahadith that are in Bukhari and Muslim, muttafaqun alayh, and from golden chains. So if you were to say that the meaning is Hasan aw Sahih, but some of these ahadith, no doubt the chain is so strong that it is Sahih without a doubt. So how can you say that a hadith that, for example, is in al-Bukhari and Muslim and through many asanid of great huffaz could be Hasan? Well, no, it's actually met that level already, so it can't be Hasan aw Sahih. Tayyib then brings me to the third opinion, and this is what Imam Ibn Kathir, the great mufassir of Quran, also a great scholar in hadith, he says that the meaning here is that it is another category. Hasan Sahih is a category between Sahih and Hasan. Yani it doesn't meet the stringent criteria of Sahih, but it's not Hasan, it's in the middle of those two. But again, the problem with this opinion is that some of these ahadith are no doubt Sahih. They are not under any other hadith. There are hadith that are also reported in Bukhari and Muslim and meet the criteria, the strict criteria being muttafaqun alayh, and some of them from very strong huffaz and ulama. So that opinion also doesn't seem to be the most strong opinion. Abdul Haq al-Dahlawi, one of the great scholars from Hind in hadith, he said that this is a hadith that is Hasan, but it has been upgraded to Sahih. Hasan Sahih would be originally Hasan, but now it's graded as Sahih. But this is also incorrect because that is Sahih li ghayrihi. There's already a term for that. And Imam al-Tirmidhi uses the term Sahih li ghayrihi. So why would we have another term called Hasan Sahih for the same concept where a Hasan hadith gets upgraded? Tayyib, another opinion amongst ulama is that it is Hasan in its meaning. Hasan with the linguistic meaning that has a good meaning, and it's Sahih in its grading. Hasan, good meaning, and Sahih in grading. But this is incorrect as well because every hadith is Hasan, and every hadith is nice, every hadith is beautiful. And we don't use the linguistic use in terminology. So when Imam al-Tirmidhi would call something Sahih or Hasan or Gharib at the end of the hadith, we do not say that linguistically it's Gharib. Linguistically, Gharib would be something strange. Here is the al-makan lil-istalah, the place for technical terminology. So this opinion also doesn't hold water. Tayyib, which brings me to the opinion that Wallahu A'lam, but I take as being the strongest, and this is the opinion that Shaykhuna Aminullah and Shaykhuna Dr. Sadiq al-Manna and other A'imma and Ulama that I studied with Nukhba, they also held to be the correct opinion. And this is the opinion that Shaykh al-Allama Mubarak Furi, the one, the famous scholar who wrote the Tuhfat al-Ahwadi, and Shaykh al-Islam Taqiyuddin ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali and other A'imma and Ulama of Hadith held, which is that Hasan Sahih is Ashal al-Hadith fil Bab. It is the most authentic. According to Imam al-Tirmidhi, these are the highest level of Sahih. Hasan Sahih would be a level higher than regularly what Imam al-Tirmidhi would grade to be Sahih. Tayyib, why is this the strongest opinion? First and foremost, as Ibn Rajab has pointed out, and as Shaykh al-Islam Taqiyuddin ibn Taymiyyah has pointed out, that many of the ahadith that Imam al-Tirmidhi grades to be Hasan Sahih are also found to be in Bukhari and Muslim and are reported by the strongest of reporters. So it shows that this term was used for very authentic narrations. Secondly, it doesn't get into the conflict of having one or two chains. Yani if you say Hasan Sahīh means that there is one chain is Hasan and the other is Sahih, but then it's also used for one single chain because it comes for Gharib, but that has a different meaning, then that doesn't make sense. Why would you use the same term for two different times of examples? But here, with this, it doesn't get into that issue. I mean, saying whether there's two or three or four or one chain doesn't matter. Meaning, these chains are from the top levels of authenticity. And ulama gave great detailed explanations, but this should be enough, inshallah, for Tullab ilm. So, what does it mean to see Hasan Sahīh in Jami' Tirmidhi, or if anybody uses that term afterwards? The istalahan, what is the most correct understanding of that is that it means that that hadith is the most authentic in that chapter, or it's at a high level of authenticity, higher than Sahih. And this is used primarily by Imam al-Tirmidhi from the earlier scholars, and then after him many of the Imam and ulama in our time have continued to use that term. Tayyib, going forward from that, the next thing we discussed here is الزيادة. الزيادة راويهما مقبول, if you have an addition from two narrators that are both authentic. طيب. So then you have to look at ما لم تقع منافشا, that which is not in contradiction لمن هو أوثق, for the one who is stronger. طيب. So now we get into the issue of Shadh, Munkar and Mahfuz. And I'll read the rest from Nukhba before I explain that. So now Ibn Hajar Asqalani, he explains this in Nuzhat to great detail, but I'm going to, inshallah, explain it in some summary. فَإِن خُلِفَ, if there is khilaf between two narrators, فأرجع الراجح والمحفوظ ومقابله شاذ فمع الضعف فالراجح معروف ومقابله منكر. طيب. So now we get into this issue of Shadh, Munkar and Mahfuz. One of the categories of Sahih is called Mahfuz, which means that this is what is preserved. If you have chains of narrators, طيب, and all of them are mentioning the same matan, the same text, but some of them add wording to it, or some of them the wording is switched, or some of them the wording is different. Now you get into an issue where you say, okay, which one is preserved from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which one is mahfuz? It may be that the sanad is connected. It may be that all of the narrators are of good moral character and of good memory, and on top of that, we don't find any textual defects in the wording. But now the problem gets to be that there is some shudud, some irregular reporting. طيب? And this is a difficult thing to catch, because if you just look at the sanad, you see it's connected, no clear breaks. You see all the reporters are good reporters, they have good moral character. So you don't notice it until, as scholars of hadith do, they look at all of the narrations from the particular scholar with that wording, and then look at the differences in wording. So it's a very difficult thing to catch. But those ulama that catch it, what do? They say, okay, these people all reported from one scholar, or one group of scholars, the same wording, except for one of them brought a wording different than the rest. So now we have an issue. If that one who is different is also a strong reporter, then we look at what's rajih, rajih and marjuh, what is stronger, who is the awthaq, and who is the stronger reporters, where is the bigger number. I'll give you an easy example. Let's say we have Tullab ilm, and let's say they all have good memories, they're all good moral character, and they're sitting, there's 20 of them in this dars, and 19 of them, and from those 19, some of the senior students go back and they say, you know what, we were studying Nukhbat al-Fikr with the Sharh Nuzhat al-Nadhr with Abu Yusuf. طيب. And one of them says, we were studying fiqh. So it would be difficult, because how can you say that when 19 of them and from the senior students all say one thing? So that tells you that one, he made a mistake. Now, if that one is not weak, we don't say that the hadith is weak, but we say it's shadh. Shadh becomes a form of weakness even though the narrators are sahih. We don't want to label the narrator as da'if yet, right? Even the example that I gave, he would become da'if because of his clear mistake, but this is just to give you the concept. So the narrators are sahih as far as the rawi, right? The adl and dabt is good. Then the odd report that conflicts with the majority, it becomes shadh, and that becomes a da'if hadith now. طيب? Because one of the 5 shurut, one of them being it should not be shadh, that is violated. And the other reports from the greater number of stronger reporters, that gets called Mahfuz. Now Ibn Hajar continues, and he says, وَمَعْ دَعَفْ, and if there is weakness, طيب. So now we get into a little bit different scenario. Let's say there are 20 students, and they are all in the dars, and one of them, he is weak, and he's weak in his memory or his moral character, and then he says, we were studying biology, right? And the other 19 who are of better character, of better memory, all of them say, no, we were studying hadith. So now not only is that one going to be rejected, but now it becomes munkar. As he says, فَرَاجِعْ Maruf. Now Maruf and Mahfuz, they're interchangeable. Some of the ulama gave some differences, but in the end, it means the same thing. And here, the one that's weak and contradicts the greater number, this becomes munkar. This becomes rejected, inkar. We reject this. Why? Because not only does it conflict against a big majority of stronger narrators, but it's from a weak narrator. Now I'm saying this, and this is very simple. Like I know everybody watching, inshallah, is like, well, this is simple. That makes sense, right? But unfortunately, in many fiqh books you will find from the different madahib, they will take a munkar hadith and use it khalif to muttafaqun alayh ahadith or mutawatir ahadith and so on. So this is why you have to be very careful. You need to really understand these concepts and be able to explain it to those who misuse a hadith. Like, I'll give you an example. When I was writing the book on Raf' al-Yadayn, there is a hadith from Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma to make Raf' al-Yadayn from Ibn Umar, and he mentions it at the beginning of Salah, at going into ruku' and getting up from ruku'. طيب. These are muttafaqun alayh, in Bukhari and Muslim, through many chains, all going back to Ibn Umar, all to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, clear, and it's mutawatir ma'nawi as well from other Sahaba, but let's just take the chain from Ibn Umar. Then there is a report from Ibn Umar to only make it in the beginning, but that report has 3 weaknesses, not just one, but multiple weaknesses in it. And then it conflicts all of those authentic ulama and those stronger reporters, greater number, all of that. One report conflicting with all of those. And some a'imma and ulama, they took that one and gave it tarjih. How? And it's against the principles of hadith. But because there was partisan issues involved, people went with it. Until today, people are going with it. And that's why we have to always understand these principles in hadith. So when implementation goes towards fiqh, we understand, at least from a hadith perspective, what is the strongest report. طيب, I always like examples, and Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani here in Nuzhat, he gives some examples. So مثال ذلك للشاذ. What is shadh? ما روات الترمذي أو النسائي وابن ماجه. He goes, an example of what is shadh is what is reported by Tirmidhi and Nisai and Ibn Majah from Ibn Uwayna, and Sufyan ibn Uwayna, from Umar ibn Dinar, from Awsakha, and it is reported from Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma. So he gives the chain here. Now, after giving this, he explains that there is a khalif report, a contradictory report, خالفهم حماد ibn Zayd, Hamad ibn Zayd, and he read from Amr ibn Dinar and from Awsakha, and this is the same chain except يعني there is a break between Awsakha here and Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma. طيب, so now you have first thing, there is irsal. There is a mursal. Both of them have irsal, but that's a separate issue. What is being discussed here is Hammad and Ibn Uwayna are both thiqa. Sufyan ibn Uwayna, strong narrator. Hammad, teacher of Bukhari, strong narrator. Both of them, Abu Hatim, he said that the hadith of Abu Uwayna, this is Mahfuz. Why? He said because Hammad ibn Zayd is from the Ahlul Adala, يعني ضبط, he's good. ما ذلك, يعني even with that, Abu Hatim said that Sufyan ibn Uwayna, يعني he is stronger in narrating. And with him are more chains that bring the same wording. So even though Hammad and Ibn Uwayna are both strong narrators, the report from Ibn Uwayna gets precedence. That becomes Mahfuz, and Hammad is not weakened, but his report becomes Shadh because of the number and greater authenticity of the reports from Ibn Uwayna. طيب, now let's give another example. And this is for Munkar and Maruf أو Mahfuz أيضا. فمثاله ما روي ابن أبي حاتم, and he gives an example of Hubayb ibn Habib. He reports from his brother Hamza ibn Habib and from Ibn Ishaq. Now, so he gives this chain here, and فمن أقام الصلاة فأتى الزكاة وحج البيت وصام قرئ نفس دخل الجنة. So فقرئ الضيف دخل الجنة. طيب, so this is the report he gives. But then he says that Abu Hatim says that this is Munkar. This is a rejected report because the riwayat from Abu Ishaq is mawquf, and there are athqa, yani stronger reporters that reported with a different wording coming. So that becomes Maruf, and this becomes Munkar. Tayyib. Now, regarding the actual ahadith, yani I don't want to go deep there because there's a lot more to explain regarding the chains and the irsal and the sahha of it. But the point is the chains here. So when you have a chain, the example of Hammad and Ibn Uwayna, where they're both from strong narrators, but one of them has more chains to support it and stronger narrators, then that becomes Mahfuz and the other becomes Shadh. When you have the example as what has been reported from Abu Ishaq, marfu'an and mawqufan, and the khilaf that comes there, then you find that there are weak narrators here that are contradicted by those that are strong. So the strong ones become Mahfuz and the weak ones become Munkar. Tayyib. Inshallah, we'll stop here and we'll continue with the next part next week, inshallah ta'ala. Jazakumullahu khairan.